On November 1st, 2014, Brittany Maynard ended her life. Maynard died with dignity because of the law of euthanasia. According to MU School of Medicine, euthanasia is the right for a patient to end their life with dignity before the suffering gets too bad. Death with dignity is only legalized in 10 states. According to BBC.org, doctors are playing God. With euthanasia, doctors have the right to decide when the patient dies. When looking at the other side of things, doctors have plenty of power themselves. They have the right to continue a patient's life and end it. So what is the difference when ending life versus extending the person's life? Now we're going to take a look at why euthanasia is long overdue. The psychological effects. With euthanasia, the mental strain on family and friends watching their loved one suffer is definitely there. We're going to look at the legal rights and why euthanasia is long overdue being legalized, and the ethics and morality of legalizing euthanasia. We'll be first looking at the mental and physical strain on family and friends watching a patient terminally ill suffer for longer than they have to. When a patient is diagnosed with a terminally ill disease, they are given a time frame to live. Typically, it seems to be 6 months or less. So the patient is going to sit in pain for months on end, waiting for their 6 months to be up. Why would we want to watch our loved ones suffer in pain for longer than they have to, when they could go out in comfort and in peace? When I think of the topic of terminally ill patients, I think of my old resident, Bill. Bill was someone I loved and was my first resident I ever cared for. He was diagnosed with kidney disease and had dialysis 3 times a week. I would sit with his wife and watch him deteriorate in pain every day until eventually he was put on hospice and dialysis was discontinued. Watching him in pain every single day and his wife struggling and crying outside his room after their nightly visits, it just seems that it would have been easier to put him in rest sooner rather than later. When we're looking at another case where it would have been easier for someone to be put out of death, we can see that this quote from NPC.org says, "Last month, Diane Pretty was refused the legal right to choose the circumstances of her own death. She suffers from motor neuron disease and is experiencing the disintegration of her body. She faces a death that she believes will entail indignity and suffering and physically cannot kill herself. This is why the law should be changed." Now, if a patient was in deep pain and knew they were going to have to live longer than they wanted to, they might even take it upon themselves to end their own lives, which is the sad but true fact. Now we're going to look at the legalization of euthanasia and why it is long overdue. Any person has the right to health care and the treatment that they can give, but why isn't it legal for them to be able to end their life if they're sick and dying? One of the first things that people look at is the Hippocratic Oath. The Hippocratic Oath is saying that a doctor says the oath, and they say that they will never do no harm to any patient. While this is a valid and true statement, it is very outdated and doesn't take into consideration the medical knowledge we have today. And finally, looking at the morality of euthanasia. It may not seem moral to have the right to give a pill to someone to end their life, but they know they're going to die. The patient is already suffering, and they know that their life will end in less than 6 months or even a year. Why would they want to suffer for months on end when they know they can simply be in peace and be cognitive while they're saying goodbye to their family members? Today we've looked at the psychological effects on friends and family and how difficult it can be to watch your loved one suffer in pain. We looked at the legal rights and how it should be legal for patients to have and family to have the right to end their lives, and the morality and ethics of it.